All right, guys. First of all, I'm tired as hell. I gotta go home and get some sleep. But anyway, I got a couple of interviews I've been trying to put together that you would like, but it's taken a while. So I felt like doing something a little different in between this, waiting for these two different interviews. What I wanted to talk about is when I was 13, between 10 and 13, I witnessed what you would call traumatic events. I wanted to share these stories with you one at a time. I watched 3 different people perish by the time I was 13. So, one of the things I want to say about it is when you're a kid running the streets, and you got no adult supervision, you invite a lot of dark shit in your life. And I wonder if these things, because when I was a kid, these were just cool stories. But I wonder if these play a role psychologically in kids like me. If I witnessed some major event, like I ran home and told my mother and they went to therapy, there was none of that. I just carried these fucking stories around, and there were cool stories in the training school, shit like that. But so my point behind this is not just what I witnessed. Is this how, I question if this is how some people would have called me a criminal sociopath, a career felon, whatever it is, I'm past it now. But I wonder if these things, because I witnessed a lot more than that, but these are just the 3 stories I want to tell at 13, 10 and 13. I'm going to tell you, let me see, probably that was the second story. At this time, I actually had I had a job. I was 13, I didn't go to school. There was a neighborhood guy, a family friend, and I used to clean grease filters that go over stoves with him. And in those days, a lot of people used to leave their police scanner running, so if anything happened in the neighborhood, they could witness. He was a nosy old prick. Me, so I'm in the middle of work with the guy. I'm cleaning filters, and he hears something on the police scanner, which I didn't quite understand. Turns out it was a big high-speed chase. And whatever this guy did, I don't know. I tried to look for the story. But he had cops he must have came from the southern part of Rhode Island, because there was cops from various cities, state police chasing this guy. And he ends up right on Cranston Street, and he turns around and he gets back on the highway. So now, let me get on with the story. Right now, I'm in Federal Hill, all right? You hear it, Federal Hill all the time, blah, 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 the mob, whatever. Well, this is my Federal Hill, I remember. And this is also about, I'll tell the part later. But anyway, so the story, the police chase ends up on this street that I'm on, okay? I'm a few miles away from Cranston Street. My boss was nosy, jumped in, come on, kid, let's go. We jump in the fucking, the work van. He says, I know where it ended. So we end up over here on the side street in Federal Hill. We can only get so far because the cops had blocked everything off. So I'm about, I don't know, maybe 20 feet away from the, first thing I see is the light blue Caprice all shot up. They shot this fucking car up, and the guy too. But now, this is an act of cruelty that happened. That's always been with me. So right now I'm approaching Atlas Ave. I was probably about 20 feet back that way. There was a guy laying right here on the corner, right? Right here, catty corner. Like, see that little surround? Half his feet was on Atlas Ave, whatever, right there. In fact, I'll get a little closer. The sidewalks weren't like this. They didn't have that dip back in the days. He was right here on this corner, right? Laying down. Cops all around him, okay? Now check this out. The EMT guy, I don't know what this guy did. I'm guessing he shot a cop, because this was some cruel shit I witnessed. So the EMT guy, he's trying to work on a guy, and the fucking trooper's pushing him back. Oh, no, you ain't gonna work on him, okay? I thought that was odd. The guy was like crying and everything, the EMT guy. So this guy's laying on the corner on this street, bleeding out, right? I don't know where the bullets were exactly. Now he sticks his head up, he lifts his head up from the ground, right? And he says to the trooper, like he lifts about a foot up, he's like, you shot me, you won't let him have it, whatever. The fucking trooper, he had a rifle over his shoulder, probably a shotgun actually. And he put his foot in the guy's chest and pushed him back to the fucking ground, right? Like, fuck you. I said, wow, what the fuck? And the guy was bleeding out, and it didn't take long before he was there laying there dead. Why didn't the trooper let him get out? I want to find this story, all right? So, the guy died, all right? I'm fucking 13. I'm looking at this shit. Now, here I am, up-and-coming criminal at the time. Now, you would think something like that would have deterred me from committing more crime. But in my crazy mind, kids like me, the guy was a martyr, you know, whatever he did. I'm gonna look for the story. But I tell you that because these stories, they're fresh in my mind. I've been carrying this shit around my whole life, all right? Like I said, there were cool stories at one point to tell people. But when you get older, and like I'm a writer, when you're writing, you're trying to get to the bottom of it, and you're studying criminal psychology or human behavior, which I like to study, you start to realize these things are actually impacting you, maybe in your subconscious. You just, did it play a role in my criminal career? I wouldn't say, I'm not going to use that as an excuse. But you have to wonder. And another reason why I tell you the story is because maybe you know a young kid up in Cumberland's running the streets. Believe me, when you're running the streets at 10, 11, 12, and you're in the criminal life, you see crazy, crazy shit. You're going to see crazy shit in normal life anyway, but a criminal's more actively involved around bad folks, so to speak. But I'll never forget how that trooper kicked that guy back down to the curb and let him fucking bleed out. It was really something to see, okay? At 13. And, that's my Owls Ave. You guys do videos, Federal Hill, the mob, I remember all that stuff too. But when I hear Federal Hill, that memory comes to me instantly of a guy bleeding out and the cops allowing it. What's my point of this story? Well, I guess like I said, if you got a younger person in your life, a loved one ever running the streets, I think the good thing to do is to push them. What's going on? You do it in a slick way, whatever you've seen. Because if you don't, things like that happen to me could happen to them. It's almost like I embrace the life more. I don't know how to explain it, but just carrying that around for years, I'm sure impacted me in some ways. So, like I said, if you got a kid in a loved one in your family, and they're in the streets like I was. I mean, I was really in the streets stealing cars. I never went home, on the run from the train school all the time. And I've seen a lot of shit. Never mind after 13 what I seen. I'm just telling you the 3 stories at that age. I got another one when I was 10 or 11 that happened in my neighborhood. I'll tell you that one another time. I want to see how you respond to this if you think that's an interesting story. My girl didn't want me to do it. So she thinks, retaliation. But listen, either way, what the fuck good am I if I'm not willing to go right to the edge and do these things? Not that I'm on the edge doing this one. I'm just saying, and risky stuff is usually the best stuff, right? But in any event, that's one of the stories. Actually, one of the more milder ones, because I wasn't that up close and personal. I was close enough to hear him say, "You shot me. You won't let him help me." And the fact that the trooper had his hand in the EMT's chest, like, fuck you, you're not helping him. Damn, I wish I could find it. I'm gonna go down to the library and find it. But anyway, this story is about how a kid carries things like that around his whole life, and God only knows what kind of impact it had. I mean, it's fresh in my mind. So, like I said, you got a youngster in your life up and coming in the streets, get more involved, because they're not gonna tell you. I had no one to tell. My mother wasn't around. I had no father. I just didn't tell him anything. Telling them sometimes get yourself in trouble. Like, what are we doing over there anyway? Type of thing. But anyway, I just wanted to fill in a little bit of space while I wait to try to do some other interviews. And I want to know what you think about that. The idea of a kid carrying that around his whole fucking life. I became a career felon. And a pretty fucking, I don't want to say significant, but I got deeply involved. In any event, I'll wrap this up, and I want to know what you guys think.